She didn't even have to touch me for the air to change. It happened the second she stepped behind me, quiet, deliberate, like someone who already knew the effect she had on a room. "Straighten up," she said, voice low, not sharp, more like a note meant only for me. I tried, but when her hand hovered near my back, I forgot how to move at all. The gym was mostly empty, late afternoon sunlight slicing across the mirrors. I've been coming here for weeks, pretending it was about discipline, but it wasn't. It was about her, the trainer who carried herself like someone who'd lived a few extra lives. There was a calmness to her, but not the peaceful kind. The kind you earn after surviving too much noise. "Shoulders back," she murmured again. Her breath brushed my neck. I could smell citrus, something faint, clean, nothing forced. Her fingers finally met my shoulders, guiding them open. Just enough pressure to correct me, not enough to justify how long she stayed there. I swallowed. "Like this." "Mitchum," she said, eyes tracing me in the mirror. "Almost. You're still guarding yourself." That made me laugh a little, awkward, nervous. "I'm not." She smiled, and something about it made the denial sound childish. "You are. You hold your breath when I get close." I tried not to, right then. Failed. She moved around to face me. Up close, I noticed the lines near her mouth. Not age lines, but the kind that come from smiling at the wrong people. Her ponytail was half undone, a few strands loose against her cheek. I wanted to know what it would feel like to tuck one back. "You don't have to be so tense," she said. "It's just posture." "Yeah," I said. "Just posture." We both knew it wasn't. The sound of weights clinking in the background faded. Someone left, the door closing too hard. The echo filled the room. For a second, we were alone completely. She stepped closer, her hand hovering just under my ribs. "This is where you start. Keep your core steady, spine aligned." Her fingers pressed lightly, and my breath caught. She felt it. I saw the tiny flicker in her eyes, recognition, or maybe guilt. She hesitated. Her hand stayed there anyway. "You're strong," she said, almost under her breath. "But you don't trust your own balance." Her words landed deeper than they should have. She wasn't just talking about form. When she finally stepped back, the air felt cold. I realized how much space she took up just by standing near me. "You can take a break," she said softly, reaching for her water bottle. Her hand trembled just a little, and she steadied it against her thigh before sipping. I pretended not to notice. "Are you always this intense with your clients?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Her eyes lifted. "Only when they need it." "And do I?" A small smile. "You tell me." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was the kind that pulls two people into the same rhythm without meaning to. My pulse had nowhere to hide. Then came the sound, footsteps in the hall. She turned toward the door too quickly, her expression resetting, professional again. "Next session's over," she said, voice steadier now. "We'll pick this up tomorrow." I nodded, even though I didn't move. Her gaze flicked to me one last time before she left, half warning, half something else. The door shut behind her, and the air she left behind stayed heavy, warm, and alive against my skin. I exhaled, but it didn't help. Tomorrow suddenly felt too far away. She was already there when I arrived the next day, alone again, adjusting the straps on a resistance band. The same sunlight poured through the windows, but the room felt different. It wasn't the space that had changed. It was us. "Early," she said without looking up. I figured I'd warm up. "You never do," she said, glancing over her shoulder. Her mouth curved a little, almost teasing. I shrugged, gripping the bar just to have something to do. The silence stretched, thin and charged. She crossed the room, her steps soft against the mats. "Yesterday," she started and then stopped. She looked down, readjusting her ponytail. "You did well." "Thanks." The words were ordinary. The way she said them wasn't. Her eyes lingered a heartbeat too long, that same flicker of hesitation before she smoothed it over with professionalism. Still, something in her posture told me she wasn't as composed as she wanted to be. "You train people full-time?" I asked, trying to sound neutral. She nodded. "Mostly. Used to teach dance before this." "Why'd you stop?" Her jaw tensed. Life doesn't always keep the rhythm you planned. It hung there, heavy. I didn't press. But something about that pause made her seem more real. Not the calm, perfect trainer I'd imagined, but someone who'd lost something along the way. She cleared her throat, motioning me toward the mat. Let's focus on your core today. Her voice had gone back to steady, but when she knelt to adjust my stance, I could feel her closeness again, her hands sliding along my side, guiding my hip just a fraction. My skin burned where her palm rested. Hold it there, she said softly. I did, but my focus was gone. I could hear her breathing, slow, measured, like she was concentrating too hard on something that wasn't just my form. You okay? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Her fingers lingered before she pulled them back. Yes, she said. You just remind me of... She stopped herself, then shook her head. Never mind. I didn't push it, but the unfinished thought stayed between us, pulsing. We went through the rest of the routine with too much focus, like two people pretending this was normal. Every correction, every brush of her hand against my back or shoulder felt deliberate and accidental at once. During the last stretch, she stood behind me again, adjusting my posture. Breathe into it, she whispered. Her hand flattened between my shoulder blades. I inhaled, and her body moved with mine, barely touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating through her. Neither of us moved away. The clock ticked loud on the wall. Finally, she stepped back, exhaling as if she'd been holding her breath too. Good work today, she said, voice quieter than usual. Same time tomorrow? I asked. She hesitated. Tomorrow's my day off. Oh, but she met my eyes. I'll be here anyway. She smiled, small but sure, and handed me a towel. Her fingers brushed mine, not by mistake this time. Don't be late. Her hand lingered just a second too long. Then she turned away, leaving me standing there with the faint imprint of her touch and the impossible weight of what it meant. She wasn't supposed to be there on her day off. But when I walked in, the lights were already on, dimmer than usual, like she'd chosen to keep the world half asleep. She looked up from the bench, startled at first, then caught herself. You're early again. So are you. Her smile flickered, unsure whether to hold or hide. She was wearing a plain gray sweatshirt instead of her usual uniform. Somehow, that made her seem more unreachable, like I'd caught her in a version of herself no one else was meant to see. Couldn't sleep, she said, moving to adjust a set of weights. Figured I'd get ahead on programming. I laughed. You mean overthink and peace? That earned me a look, the kind that said stop being right. We trained quietly, the sound of sneakers against the mat and breath sinking through repetitions. Every correction now felt charged, every pause too long. Relax your neck, she murmured, stepping behind me. Her hands guided my shoulders down, and my entire body forgot how to listen. Like that. Her voice barely carried. Yes, perfect. Her fingers lingered longer than they should have. She realized it, pulled back fast, too fast. I shouldn't, she started, but the sound of the front door opening cut her off. Another trainer's voice echoed from the hall. Hey, Marin, you here? She stepped back so quickly it almost looked rehearsed. Her tone shifted, light casual. Yeah, just wrapping up. I stood there, trying to look busy, my pulse hammering through my shirt. The footsteps got closer. Marin glanced at me once, a quiet plea for composure. When her coworker appeared in the doorway, she greeted him with practiced ease, the picture of professionalism. Early bird client, she said, nodding toward me. We're finishing his session. The man nodded, tossed a joke about dedication, and left again. The door closed. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. She exhaled, rubbing her forehead. That was close. I nodded. We didn't do anything wrong. Her laugh was short, almost bitter. No, not yet. Her words stayed in the air between us, fragile and real. When she looked up again, her eyes softened. Regret or longing, I couldn't tell. You should go before someone else comes in. But I didn't move. She took a step closer instead, shaking her head like she was about to stop herself, but didn't. You make it too easy to forget. I'm supposed to know better. Her hand brushed mine as she reached for the mat. A static spark, barely there, but it made her freeze. She looked at our hands, then at me. Neither of us pulled away. Don't, she whispered. Don't look at me like that. I'm not. You are. Her voice broke a little on the last word. She turned her face away, but not before I saw the tremor in her jaw. I wanted to tell her it didn't matter. The age, the rules, the eyes that might see, but I couldn't find the right version of honesty. So I just stood there, close enough to feel her breath against my cheek, close enough to see her lips part slightly, as if to say something else. Then she stepped back, slow, deliberate, not far enough to undo it, just enough to remind us where we stood. "We can't," she said softly. "I know, but neither of us moved." The clock ticked once, then twice, and still, the space between us refused to close or widen. It had been 3 days. 3 days of pretending nothing had happened in that quiet room. While I walked in this time, she didn't smile. Her voice was steady, almost cold. "You're late. I didn't think we still had session." "We do," she said, adjusting the timer on her watch. "Let's just keep things simple today." Simple. That word felt like a punishment. She avoided my eyes, gave clipped instructions, all business. I followed every cue without argument, but the distance between us felt worse than the guilt ever could. Halfway through, I broke form. My breathing was off, my focus gone. She sighed and came over, placing her hands on my shoulders to realign me. The second her skin met mine, the act cracked. "Stop," I said. "Don't do that unless you mean it." She froze. Her hand stayed there, trembling slightly. "You think I don't know what I'm doing?" she said, voice low. "I think you're trying too hard not to." Her breath hitched. She let go, stepping back. "You're 23. You don't understand what this looks like." "I don't care what it looks like." "You should." Her tone was sharp, but her eyes weren't angry. They were tired. Hurt, even. "I've spent half my life being careful," she said. "I can't afford to be seen as." She cut herself off, looking away. "As what?" I asked. She shook her head. "As someone who doesn't know better." The words hung between us, thick and heavy. I moved closer, slow, deliberate, giving her every chance to stop me. She didn't move. "You keep saying you know better," I said quietly. "But you're the one who waits for me when you don't have to." Her jaw tightened. "That's not what this is." "Then tell me what it is." She turned, finally facing me. Her chest rose and fell too fast. Her hands curled at her sides. "It's a mistake waiting to happen." "Then why are we both still here?" Her silence answered for her. I reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her face. She flinched, not away, but inward, like she'd been caught feeling something she wasn't supposed to. Her eyes met mine, and whatever wall she'd built started to crack. "You're making this hard," she whispered. "It already is." The space between us vanished by accident or instinct. I could feel her breath against my mouth, warm, shaky, full of everything we hadn't said. Her hand came up to my chest, not to push me away, just to feel the heartbeat she'd helped quicken. "I can't," she murmured. "You already are," I said. Her fingers tightened against my shirt. For a second, she leaned in, so close I could smell the faint citrus on her skin again, feel the tremor in her breath. Then the sound, a phone buzzing on the floor, loud and real. She jerked back, eyes wide. Her name glowed on the screen, a picture of a little girl on the call, Idaho. She swallowed hard, whispering, "My daughter." And just like that, everything that almost happened shattered into silence. The next day, she didn't show. No message, no call. Just silence, the kind that starts small and spreads until it fills the whole room. I stayed anyway, running through the motions, lifting weights that suddenly felt heavier than before. By the time she walked in, evening had swallowed the light. Her hair was damp, cheeks flushed, like she'd rushed here and wasn't sure why. "You're still here," she said quietly. I didn't know where else to be. She nodded, closing the door behind her. Her hands fumbled with her keys, not clumsy, just restless. "I wasn't avoiding you," she said. "Then what were you doing?" Her eyes flicked up, sharp, trying to remember who I'm supposed to be. The words hit harder than they should have. She crossed her arms, like she needed to keep herself contained. "You shouldn't have seen that call yesterday." "She's her daughter," I said. "You don't have to explain." Her lips parted, but what came out wasn't an apology. "She's not." She stopped herself, jaw tightening. "She's not mine. Not the way you think." That pause stretched. "What do you mean?" She turned away, leaning on the wall, her voice rough now. My sisters. She couldn't raise her. I stepped in when she was a baby. Everyone assumes she's mine. I never correct them. I stared at her, the air suddenly too thin. Why tell me now? Because, she said, meeting my eyes, you're the only one who ever asked without judgment. And I hate that it matters. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hum of the fluorescent lights filled the space between us. Then she stepped closer, close enough that I could see the tremor in her hands. You think this is simple, that it's about want. But it's not. It's about what it would cost if I let it happen. I wanted to say something, anything, but the look on her face, part confession, part plea, stole the words. I moved without thinking until there was barely a breath between us. Then stop me, I said. She didn't. Her hand brushed against mine as if by accident, then stayed there. A small, helpless gesture. Her body leaned in before her mind could stop it. I felt her heartbeat against my arm, her breath shaky against my throat. Don't, she whispered again, weaker this time, almost begging. But her eyes said something else entirely. I lied, she said suddenly. I came here tonight because I couldn't stop thinking about you. I thought distance would help. It didn't. I felt everything tighten, my pulse, the air, the space between our words. Her confession wasn't loud, but it changed everything. What had been restraint now felt like gravity. She took one step back, but her hand slid from mine too slowly, like her body hadn't agreed with the decision. Tomorrow, she said, her voice unsteady, I'll end this. I have to. But even as she said it, she couldn't look away. She left the room first, and for the first time, I didn't follow. Because I already knew that tomorrow, one of us wouldn't be able to keep that promise. Morning came too early. The gym was empty again, quiet except for the hum of the air vents. I wasn't supposed to be there before opening, but neither was she. She stood by the mirror, arms folded, staring at her own reflection like she was giving herself instructions she couldn't follow. I said we'd stop, she murmured when she saw me. I know, and yet you're here. So are you. The corners of her mouth twitched, not quite a smile. Guess neither of us listens very well. I stepped closer, the echo of my footsteps louder than it should have been. She didn't back away, but her breathing shifted, shallow, careful. You didn't sleep? I said. Did you? I shook my head. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable this time. It was thick, full of every almost touch, every nearly spoken word from the past weeks. When I reached her, she didn't move. My hand hovered near her arm, but didn't land. If I walk away now, I said, will that make it easier for you? Her eyes flicked up. No, but it might make it survivable. That word, survivable, hit something raw in both of us. She turned toward the mirror again, maybe to avoid me, maybe to confront herself. You have to understand, she said, people already talk. They notice things. I worked too hard to be taken seriously, and one rumor. I interrupted without thinking. I don't care what they say. I do, she said, finally facing me. Because when they stop respecting me, I lose everything. You lose nothing. That stung. Not because she was wrong, but because she was right. Her voice softened. You remind me what it's like to be wanted for no reason. That's dangerous for me. Her words hung in the air, fragile and honest. I reached up, brushing my fingers against her jaw, slow enough to let her stop me. She didn't. Her eyes fluttered closed, and her breath caught the smallest surrender. Tell me to go, I whispered. She didn't. The distance vanished. Her forehead rested against mine, our breaths tangling. For a long moment, we stayed there, suspended between choice and consequence. Then, barely audible, she said, if I start, I won't stop. Then don't stop. Her eyes opened, and for the first time, she didn't hide. Whatever we'd been pretending to control broke quietly, without apology. She leaned in. Not a kiss, not yet, just the promise of one. Her hand slid up to my shoulders, grounding herself as much as holding me. Then she whispered, this can't last. I know, but right now, her voice cracked, and she smiled, soft, wrecked, real. Right now, it's ours. We stayed like that, caught between what we wanted and what we feared, both knowing the choice had already been made. When she finally stepped back, Her hand brushed my chest. One final touch that said everything neither of us could. And in that quiet, we understood each other completely. Love wasn't the problem. Time was. The next morning, everything felt quieter, softer, like the world had exhaled after holding its breath for too long. I half expected she wouldn't show. Maybe she'd decide that what happened between us should dissolve into memory, something that lived only in that thin slice of time. But when the door opened, she was there. No armor this time. No careful tone or distance. Just Marin, tired but steady. "Hey," she said. "Hey." For once, neither of us pretended to be fine. She walked past the weights, past the mirrors, until she stopped in front of me. There was no performance in the way she looked at me. No teacher, no guard. Just a woman sorting through everything she hadn't said. "I thought about ending it," she admitted. "Us. Whatever this is." I figured. But then I realized she hesitated, biting her lip. "I'm not done knowing you yet. And maybe that's not something I should be ashamed of." I didn't answer right away. I just stepped closer, close enough to see the faint lines under her eyes, the life she'd lived before me. My hand found hers, hesitant at first, then certain. She didn't pull away. Her thumb traced my palm, a small, grounding motion that said we're still here. "I've spent so long worrying about what people see," she said quietly. "How they measure me, how they define me. But when I'm with you, I stop performing. I just am." I swallowed hard. "Then stay that way." Her eyes softened. "And what about you?" "I'll keep showing up," I said, "even if it's messy, even if it doesn't fit anyone's idea of right." That made her laugh, the kind of laugh that starts shaky and ends warm. She reached up and brushed my hair off my forehead, the way she used to correct my posture. Her fingers lingered this time, tracing the line of my cheek. Then, gently, she pressed her forehead against mine. No words, just breathing, just the quiet rhythm of two people who had already made their choice. After a while, we sat on the floor by the mirror, legs crossed, her head against my shoulder. The light caught the dust in the air, turning it gold. "I don't know what happens next," she said. "Neither do I. Maybe that's okay." "It is." The gym stayed silent around us, but it didn't feel empty anymore. When she finally looked up at me, her smile was small but sure. I kissed her forehead, not to claim, not to promise forever, but to thank her for letting me in. Her hand tightened around mine. "Whatever this becomes," she whispered, "let's not regret it." I nodded. "We won't." For the first time, she seemed to believe it. And for once, so did I.